Frank Sinatra, who is known by many names, Old Blue Eyes, the chairman of the board, and the Sultan of Swoon, but he'll always be called a great American entertainer. Bruce Hambro, a cultural historian, stopped by the Center at the Heights on February 14th to provide insight in the life and career of the talented Frank Sinatra.
I am doing an audiovisual presentation on the life and times of Frank Sinatra. I cover his whole life and career from his birth to his death, all the great music that he's created, all the movies he's been in, and personal life as well. It's, I call it educational, entertaining, and interactive because I give lots of information about Frank. I have lots of slides on the screen, and I have many songs where people can sing along because they have the lyrics on the screen for them to sing along. So I've done this lecture over 100 times in various senior centers and senior living communities all over Eastern Mass and Rhode Island. I've always loved Frank Sinatra. I'm a Sinatra-phile, let's say. I love the great American songbook, the great singers like Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Mel Torme, Peggy Lee, all my life since I was a kid. I was in the music business. I was a manager and agent, and I brought people to Carnegie Hall and major record deals and so forth. And then got out of the business for many years. I was a teacher. Actually, I taught in Needham. I was still a substitute teacher at High Rock. Occasionally, but I also give these lectures. I developed this lecture series. And I did a radio show at MIT Radio about 4 years ago on Frank Sinatra. And after somebody heard that who had worked at a senior community, she came up to me and said, "Could you put a lecture together on Frank Sinatra?" I said, "Well, I suppose I could." I was teaching then. I was a substitute teaching. I said, maybe I could, yeah. So it took me about 4 months, put it together, and brought it to a senior living community, and the rest is history. They loved it, and they said the next day, they said, "Now can you do somebody else?" So I said, "Well, I guess I could do Judy Garland." So I put together Judy Garland, and it's grown since then. I have about 60 clients, and I go all over Massachusetts with Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland. I've got George Gershwin, Dean Martin, Bing Crosby, Cole Porter, and Irving Berlin, and Barbra Streisand. So those, I put together about 2 new programs a year. But this is my baby. This is my first one, and I love it. And how can you not love Frank Sinatra? He was the first teen idol in America. Before the Beatles, before Elvis, it was Frank Sinatra. So that's the connection with a lot of these women. And men love him too. He started in the 40s. He had a little dip in his career. He had a major dip in his career in the late 40s, early 50s. He came back strong when he won the Oscar for From Here to Eternity. He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And that revived his career. And then he changed his whole way of singing. He got a new arranger named Nelson Riddle. And he was much more up-tempo. In the 40s, he was sweet and lovely with these beautiful string sections. He moved into up-tempo brass work in the 50s. It revived his career, and he became the king of, he was really the king of entertainment for years. I mean, the chairman of the board, you know. For 55 years, Frank had a career until he was 80. So very exciting. People love him. He's a legend. Also, he had lots of wives and girlfriends like Ava Gardner. You had Mia Farrow, Angie Dickinson. So lots of people are interested in his private life. I talk a little bit about that too. And the Rat Pack, that's the other thing you've heard about, the Rat Pack with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. We play some of that. So he has an amazing career. Movies, the Rat Pack, the 40s, the 50s with Nelson Riddle. It just, to me, he's the greatest male entertainer of the 20th century.